Anything I say here is not financial advice. It should not be taken as financial advice. It's just my opinions. I've got a background in financial analysis. I'm a crypto and stock investor. I've been doing this crypto for about 3 years now. I looked into crypto and I had done some superficial research and analysis, really more on how it impacted the financial sector or crypto coming in, which it definitely is now. I am really excited to have this chat with you guys today. And from my tweet, like I originally had a lot planned here, and I'm still going to cover that, but I think that I'm going to shorten it a little bit so that we can talk about the big elephant in the room, OMI, right? And we will get to that, I promise. But there's a couple things, because this is a VeVe and OMI live stream that I want to talk about, kind of, the end of the year, and then VeVe in 2024, and then some of the topics that I've just seen in Twitter. There was a discussion about really what happens to our collectibles if VeVe were to go bankrupt, and some of the responses I saw there were misinformed. So anyways, one of the purposes of my channel here is to try to help provide context and education, and then just provide my thoughts on that. So first of all, I want to shout out everyone here. We got Wes. OMI is not performing well. Correct. And we'll be talking about that. Bill Gardner is buying more OMI. He is eating up some of this FUD here. We got Bean Tech. So I met Bean Tech in real life. Incredible guy. Man, it's so fun to meet the VeVe fam in real life and make those connections. So shout out to you, Bean Tech. And then my bae, Real Randy Chavez. I just appreciate you, Randy. It's one of the most positive people I've met in this space, and there's been a lot of attacks on you recently, and that really irks me. It so irks me that people just, instead of just, again, attacking an argument, attacking a person, and that just shows either there's lack of education or who that person is, and it's really sad. Look, no one's perfect, and I get that. Like, I'm not perfect either, and there's been some times where I have gotten frustrated about something, right? But ultimately, the goal is to try to educate people and have these discussions, and people can have different opinions, and that's okay. And I'll talk about that too, right? With the OMI debate on the last around the Comey-verse, that was very interesting. What's up? Luca. Yep. So we're going to talk about this, right? What's up, Wallace King? Omicron, shout out to you. Appreciate all your support. Always, son of dad. What's up, man? Appreciate again the stream. Hey, great stream already. All right, so not finding good foot here. And there's a lot of stuff happening, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about that, really, and to try to just give a level-headed approach to everything. And I'm going to shoot straight with you guys, right, on everything. Mr. MC1, I'm going to be talking about you quite a bit here in the beginning, and your epic space. What's up? Okay, well, let's dive into this, Jack. We'll talk about this. That's great. Okay, so the first thing I kind of wanted to go over, which I thought was so awesome, one of the things that I've loved about VeVe is its community. And like I said, even just meeting Bean Tech in real life, like just meeting people and interacting with them, VeVe does have one of the strongest communities of any crypto project that I've ever seen, honestly. And there are some massive ones too, like XRP, right? The XRP army, like there are definitely some tokens and some communities which are rabid, but like for an altcoin, but man, OMI, like VeVe, just has to have one of the most massive and strongest communities out there, and passionate ones, right? And I think that comes from the collectors there, like the passion that brings in the community. So one of the things that was so awesome is Mr. MC1 along with Michael Campa, Mr. 41.eth, VeVe NFT Comics, also like Tony, known as Tony, Dr. Rolex. They hosted this kind of VeVe recognition, community recognition space, and it was so special. And so if you guys have not listened to that or didn't know about it, I'm going to do a brief synopsis or summary of the people that were named and kind of why, so that if you guys aren't following those people or you're not aware of who they are, they really are great people, and it was awesome to see them get recognized. So Jay East was one of the people who was first recognized in the space. Shout out to him. Actually, my PFP on Twitter and now on YouTube is one that he created. He sent one to me, and I was like, hey, I'd love if you could make some edits to it or whatever, and I sent him a tip, for his extra work in doing that, and I'm really grateful for him. But he's dedicated a lot of time to the VeVe community. He holds so many spaces and just high quality individual. Rootless Girl, or VeVe Fox, and she was recognized as well. She provides a lot of analytics, which has been very helpful, right? Active user wallets, the top 500 wallets. She does a lot of analysis there, which has been really helpful for people and just understanding kind of the pulse of VeVe and activity in that space. So shout out to her. Mr. Falcon, and then his son. If you guys don't know Mr. Falcon, he puts out some of the great video, like short clips using VeVe collectibles. A lot of fun, very positive, and he's used his son in some of those videos, and it's so entertaining. And those are the types of things that really keep this community together. Is just these people and the content they create and put out is awesome. So loved seeing that recognition there. Vibesman won. If you don't know him, I got to meet him in real life at DCon. And he was filming almost the whole time, and then he made these compilations of all of the videos and interviews he'd taken, and made those of some of the trips to DCon and New York Comic Con. I highly recommend seeing those videos if you haven't, and a great individual there. So then Tails from the Rizzo got a massive shout out there. All the time and dedication he puts, and to all the Vaultaholics, right? And the spaces that, or the vaults that they build, right? And just the content that they create and the time spent with that. So it was great to see him get recognized. He was the one who, with the VeVeverse kind of clip, he had put that together, and it was awesome to see. Just, man, the time and dedication. So shout out to him. My Collectibles, he has a YouTube channel, incredibly positive. He used to have a collectible store called My Collectibles, and very knowledgeable and very positive. I would definitely recommend following him if you haven't, on YouTube and on Twitter. Just a great individual. VeVe Magic. She's so great. VeVe Magic is great. Anyone who's interacted with her, she's extremely positive. Her Disney knowledge is second to none. And I learned a lot as the Golden Moments came in and all this VeVe stuff. I mean, this Disney stuff came in. I was so impressed and grateful for a lot of the nuances and little things, tidbits of information, history behind some of these things. And she has a channel too. And but yeah, shout out to her. Randy Chavez, who's definitely, he just commented, he's on the stream, and all of the interesting interviews that he's had, and the people he's brought into the VeVe community, right? Some massive whales, but then even just a lot of different fun content. And he is definitely an Omi and VeVe Maxi, and so he has been under fire a lot today, and again, very disappointed in just I say disappointed in crypto Twitter. The majority of crypto Twitter are made up of trolls, but man, just his sincerity, like that really pisses me off to see that. But and I'm so grateful that there are people that recognize like the work that he puts in, and how sincere he is and passionate about VeVe and Omi. So shout out to him. Jordan Riz, around the Comiverse, he was shouted out for that. I've been on there. I'm on there most of the time. I'm a pretty big staple there, but he's put together a lot of individuals with varying opinions, as seen last week, right, with Ron's Cryptotherapy and Danny DeBoll, and Crypto Rain. It was a very interesting debate there on Omi. Sergio Collects has excellent informational threads. He's put together a Facebook community for VeVe. So if you're not there and you're on Facebook, you should search that out. Miss Gecko. If you guys haven't interacted with Miss Gecko, you are missing out. She's extremely positive. I had no idea it was shared during the space, some of the personal things that she's going through, and yet she continues to just be a bright light in the community and informing people. She creates these great posts about things that are happening in Web3 and informational spaces. She's hosted some of those spaces. Shout out to her. VeVe Arcade is an incredible artist and has done so many digital art pieces there, but he does physical art as well. I've been in the DMs with him. I'm eventually going to be, I want to commission a piece from him, a physical piece. I do love his artwork. It's phenomenal. So he probably thinks that I've forgotten because I haven't like responded there, but I'm kind of waiting for Wolverine to drop on VeVe, and I'm really hoping it's a premium digital collectible and not a mighty. VeVe, do not, please, Marvel, do not drop Wolverine as a mighty. Please do not do that. Danny DeBull, talked with him a lot on Around the Comeyverse. I'm in some different chats with him. Incredibly intelligent individual. He and I on Omi and some other things. And I love it, though. I love because I assess, I try, and everyone should be doing this, right? We can disagree with people, but like also truly try to be open as to what they're saying and be open to learning there. Like that's so important. I do block people, but mostly those are the people who are just toxic and they're just attacking and stuff. But sorry, not that I'm even thinking about blocking or anything with Danny. I really appreciate him in the community, and obviously he's recognized there. Grateful official emoji, and then the whole back of the class group, man, awesome Twitter spaces. If you haven't, they haven't been running those lately, but typically they're Thursday evenings, and a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, man. When I've had a bad day, jumping in that space, there's a lot of music to it. It's fun, man. It's Village. I don't know It's Village very well. He holds a lot of spaces that are a lot of fun and action packed. So I definitely need to get to know him better. Mr. V and Will Mai, those guys have put together some awesome interviews, and they just did that interview with Josh Emmett and his epic MMA fight and why he's into VeVe and things. So that was fun, and definitely watch a lot of their very informational interviews. That's been great. They've done with David Yu, with Dan Crothers, and many more there from the community. So OMW on my way, like he was recognized. He's a VeVe mod. This guy is everywhere. He's so helpful. He jumps into a lot of different Twitter spaces and talks about VeVe to the people just in Web3, and it's awesome. And he comes back and talks about it, and very grateful to have him in the community and to be a great Discord mod there. Tina Sells For You, or Tina and Rudy, they are an epic couple in the community as well. They have put together some wild low digit sets that are impressive, and they're so positive and so friendly. So if you haven't run into them in Twitter, definitely check them out. Sleeping Comics. So he, first of all, I mean, he's incredible and highly intelligent and knows so much about comics, but he knows so much about business too. He was on Around the Comeyverse, and just getting to know him and his business experience, man, I can't tell you, like there's so many different individuals in this community and that are just powerhouses. And I love that because it does provide an opportunity to engage with them and to interact and to learn. Metaverse Life, with all of his incredible videos. I got a chance to meet him in person. I was interviewed for one of the videos that he had, the Collectors at Heart series. Getting to know him and his passion was phenomenal. O'Milly Tees. O'Milly. If you have not met O'Milly, he is I'm trying to think of the right term for, like, I love him to death, but I think that Dr. Rolex said it so well when he was like, when I first kind of started listening to him, he's like, I couldn't decide if whether or not I liked him or, and but now he's positive that he just loves him. But he can definitely be a polarizing individual in this space, right? He just doesn't take crap, and it's so funny. But I appreciate O'Milly Tees. Yeah, let's see. Queen VeVe, Lori Brenner. She's done a lot of the Queen's Court, a lot of spaces. She does charity work, holds great interviews. K Collections. She showed up to a lot of in real life events and gifted comics. She's done art spaces before, comics and crypto. Obviously, like they're a lot of fun. Provide a lot of information, and they've recently started to put out kind of a newsletter, which is awesome and informational. So they're ramping up kind of their exposure there, and their presence. Omi Homies, Max and Janie. If you have not met that couple, they are so positive and fun. And then Foster Hilt, obviously, like, I mean, he is now the Acomi community manager. He has probably had a very rough day today, honestly. I'm sure that's been tough for him, but I'm grateful for him and a lot of the informational videos that he's put out on like bridging from L1 to L2, getting that into your wallet for the soft staking of OMI for MCP points and now for bronze tickets. And then last but not least, Eagle Eye. He's also a mod, incredible, positive individual, and has really built out the VeVe Discord. So I had to shout out those individuals. If you haven't listened to that space, it's so positive. David, you stopped in for a while and talked. That was really awesome. I really enjoyed all of Mr. 41 Dolly's jokes. It was just a fun space, and that's what this community is all about. And I'm so grateful. And Danny Bull said it too. Like, I completely agree that, man, with all of my purchases I made on NFTs and OMI, like, I don't care how down they are right now. Like, I am overall up because of the connections and relationships I've made here. And I fully agree with that. I'm so grateful to all of you guys. Okay. So I did want to shout out a few other community members. Like, there's so many to, like, you can't list them all, right? But man, Dave, aka NFL Champion.eth, he has grown so much in this space and just made so many connections. And he holds a lot of spaces with Metamona and Miss Gecko on Sundays, right? We rewind and. Am I saying that right? I got it wrong last time, and now I'm second guessing myself. But very informational spaces there. Superstar Money. That channel, those guys have put out videos literally every day for like 2 years. And, some of them have definitely been pretty harsh on VeVe. But I always try to, and although I don't necessarily agree with all of their takes, I appreciate their thoughts and their opinions. And it's so important to have that dialogue. And I'm very grateful to Superstar Money. Patient Hodler, who we've had on around the Comiiverse, and Der VeVe Meister, and then Yo Steph. So anyways, a ton of people in the community, guys, including all of you guys who interact with me here. Very, very grateful. An additional shout out to VeVe Magic and Yo Steph and Sanjay. So they had held these spaces and they were doing competitions and giveaways, and I ended up winning one of them. And I won these comics. Guys, I've been wanting these Disney/Marvel collab comics, and I've looked on eBay, and I just am very skittish to buy stuff from eBay and being scammed. And so I won 5 of these different ones. I am so stoked on it. So massive shout out. Oh, did I say 5? There's 6 of them. Oh man, I am so pumped on these. And I want to go out and find out how to collect the rest of them. So thank you, VeVe Magic, Yo Steph, and Sanjay for that. And thank you to my brain for being able to compete and win against all those individuals. Omili Tees, just saw you. I gave you a big shout out, man. All right. So just wanted to kind of go through that, right? Yeah. Mr. MC1, and that was so thoughtful of you. And every, like, all of those guys, those hosts that came out and literally just gave of your own collection and money and comics and like physical possessions that mean something to people. Like, that was just so awesome, right? So there we go. What's up, Patient Hodler? Yeah, I didn't even know. I haven't even seen this. I haven't seen some of the comments yet. So yeah, here we go. I'm going to get through some of them. Yeah, I did say Jack. Okay. We're gonna talk about Omi, guys. Don't get like we will get there. I promise you. Pixel Trader, Pixel Trader's another community member that's done a lot there, and I think that like you have a YouTube channel as well, Pixel Trader, right? I saw someone posting that you were about to do like a co-hosting event with that, so check him out. Um, Roku, I am with you on the burn mechanisms. Um, I guess while the token's still down, it's still possible we can get that, but man, yeah. I I'm so with Foster being the community manager now, I think that that is happening, and Foster himself is absolutely engaging more and making comments, and I really appreciate that. Right? Okay, so that was VeVe 2023, kind of tying that out with some of the community recognition. That was so wonderful. I know I forgot. I mean, obviously they recognized me too. Sanjay recognized me and just said some words. I recorded it. So meaningful and. I would just say this for everyone who's watching this or the people you interact with on Twitter that put out content, whether it is they put out long threads or they do videos, um, it means the world when you just say, "Hey, I appreciate what you do." Like whether that's a tweet, like in response to their stuff, or in a DM or anything, is so meaningful. And so just to have that was to be in the same named in the same group of individuals there for me was very humbling. Very grateful for that. There's a lot of Omi talk here. Okay, all right. So this is the stuff BJN. Like let's just address the issues of the concerns. Um, you know, Randy may look like he's down, right? The Omi community is down, but like we're going to talk about that. The funny thing is someone looks silly until something happens, and all of a sudden they look like an absolute genius. And like Crypto Rain is a perfect example of that. Like he was talking about um, Cardano, and when we talk about Omi FUD, it was around this type of FUD with Cardano. Everyone was like, Cardano, it's vaporware, it's never happening. Everyone was laughing, everyone was calling people names that were talking about or bullish on Cardano. Like it was, and like the token was just going down and going down and going down. He started buying it around 70 cents and it just kept dollar cost averaging down, right? To like 2 cents. And that's when he's like, this is crazy. And he saw something that everyone in the crypto Twitter space in the crypto sphere like didn't see, right? And they were making fun of him. And then but they weren't making fun of him when Cardano went to $3 and like 30 cents, right? And he's a millionaire from that and other investments that he made there. So let's just address people respectfully and say, hey, like, yeah. Anyways, I just have to address that, guys. We're all people. We're all humans, man. And like, let's be kind to one another. There we go. Yeah. All right. Okay. So VeVe in 2024, here's some of the things that I think are coming down the line, right? China is going to be a big one. Now, VeVe has been working, they had that memorandum of understanding with Alipay, and they have been learning and discussing. And VeVe is available in China right now. And that was something that I learned in the interview that Rain and I had with David Yu. The app isn't there, but it like the web, you can access VeVe via the web, right? But some of the payment structures, it's very difficult. Google isn't there, right? So they can't do that app. It's Huawei. That's one of the big phones there. And so there's a lot of different restrictions they've been working with. And so for me, I'm expecting that they are working that out and building out all of the servers that they need to have, because that's another thing with that, some of that information, China, the servers are required to be there. They're working with Alipay, which is AliCloud guy, AliCloud, which is Alipay. That is a massive, massive connection that they have there. And so I'm expecting to see more regional or region specific drops like we had originally, right, with Adventure Time and some of those other drops that were only available on drop in those areas, but then were available through the secondary market later. And I think that that's really bullish for me. Obviously, just the users that are going to come in and the population there. Holy smokes, they've got a lot. There's a lot of people in China. So I'm looking forward to that, right? And David, you talked about getting a team there that speaks the language and understand the marketing. But I do expect sometime this year in 2024 where that is going to come together. Now it might be Q3 or into Q4, but I do believe that that's happening this year. The music vertical. So again, when Rain and I interviewed David Yu, he said that they were looking at releasing their first music collectible in Q4. Didn't happen, right? But I want to share with you, and shout out to Randy. He, I'd seen this, but he shared this with me. So I'm going to share this. Okay, let's see. All right. So this was an article. There was an interview that was done, and let me pull this back up here. So this was an interview. It's called On Caffeine, and this was just released. Well, this says Thursday. No, that's like the time. That's not when it was released here, but it was released a few days ago, I think. But Caitlin Sykes interviewed her, and here we go. Is let me find this again. Okay. So we continue to develop new vertical products to align with what we are doing. And again, they're all IP related. We're moving into the category of music and the category of gaming. I think there's going to be a new category coming out for people collecting music they love, and it will be through a digital collectible way. So he talks about vinyl records. They're going to be releasing a jukebox, and then with these vinyl records, you can play the music you want in your VeVe space. I think that would be very, very interesting, and it'd be interesting to see what music they get and how that works and the payment structure, right? Because I know with some of these streaming, there's some sort of crazy super low payment that's done, and so like I don't know what kind of deal they've worked out with that and what type of music we'll get originally, but they are breaking into that space, and that'll be very interesting. And I thought that he said this was interesting. They've released a range of vehicles like the Lamborghini, so you could buy music, put it in the car, and it will play as you control the car. So very interesting vertical there that they are getting into. Let me stop that screen. Okay, so then also I think another vertical that's coming down the line is sports vertical. They've been talking about that a lot, and they originally had like the NFL players themselves, and then something happened. I don't know if it was due to like Dapper Labs and the NFL thing that they had there. So yeah, what happened? But I do know that David has talked a lot about getting into the sports vertical, and I believe that is one that is coming this year. We all know about crypto XR, and I want to address that. I've been seeing a lot of people who are like, okay, this is a crypto event. I'm hoping that they're going to make some massive OMI announcements there. I want to level set with you that I personally don't think that they're going to talk much about OMI. And in fact, originally they were going to speak, but I think it was only in French. And I don't know if there just weren't interpreters there or something, but it doesn't look like they're speaking there anymore, but they'll have a booth there. So that would be interesting. But on our interview, Rain and my interview with David Yu, he said that they want to get there and showcase VeVe to crypto users because when they've gotten some crypto whales on board, they end up they end up just loving it and buying a lot of the collectibles and really enjoying that. And so they want I think that this is their chance to get some more exposure to crypto users, and it would be interesting to see how this plays out. Because obviously in Twitter, you do see this debate, right, about like IMX, it's not a blockchain, it's a layer 2. And so the NFTs are kind of like a proof. They're not minted on layer 1 as a token. And so there are some crypto purists who absolutely, that's all they care about. Then there's a lot of people who are like, look, I don't care. If the metadata has a timestamp and a date, and I can eventually mint that to layer 1, like that's all I care about. So it will be interesting to see what comes of that. but they are trying to get more exposure and presence in crypto. I think one of the biggest ways to do that is through the OMI token, though, to be honest. That's how so many people, not everyone, but a lot of people got exposed to to VeVe is through OMI first. So I don't think that there's going to be a big announcement there. However, and I'll get into this a little bit more, I do think something's coming first or second quarter related to OMI that will be exciting there. So MCP, OUP, I know that, man, we've been promised that for a long time. I predict that this is happening. And I mean, we're seeing some things, right? We have the bronze tickets that we're going to be able to collect at the end of Q1. We're going to be able to use those bronze tickets. And so I think that they're on the cusp of really rolling that out. So I mean, we're going to see that this year. And I'll say this. If some of these things that I'm talking about, specifically MCP and OUP, don't happen this year, that is a big problem. That's a big problem. They're hiring a lot of individuals, and they've got this whole team, and they've been working on this for so long that's like I'm just so positive that this is happening. And if it doesn't, again, I'd be extremely concerned about about how this team can get things going. But again, I believe that it's going to happen. So I'd love to hear in the chat too, see in the chats, what do you guys think some of the things that are happening this year, VeVe specific? I'd love to see what you guys have to say. But in the meantime, while you guys are addressing that, some things that I really hope VeVe truly takes to heart and works on: communication. Now, I know that they used to have a lot of these, monthly updates, or it used to be a lot more frequently. And then as they've grown, that's been a little bit more difficult. And I think that they got concerned where they would give out these timelines and then they wouldn't be completed and people would get frustrated. So then they just started saying, well, hey, we're just not going to give out timelines. That's not always helpful either. Like I'm down with like, hey, you're just going to put stuff out. You're going to put your head down and you're just going to work. And then people are just going to be happy and surprised as things happen. But there are some at least outstanding things that the team has talked about and promised for some time that need to be communicated. So Mr. V and Will Mind, they interviewed Dan Truthers, and Dan had talked about in November, middle of November, he would make a decision as to bringing on more people into the VeVe-verse, right? Didn't happen. Then at the end of December, some people started to get those emails about getting invited into the VeVe-verse, and that created a lot of excitement. And then David Yu came out and apologized and said, hey, that went out prematurely. You're going to be coming in soon. Okay, I'm going to give you guys an example of what I believe is good, solid communication. There's a project that I've been following literally since I was part of the pre-seed raise for this token, Cornucopia's Game, right? So I researched them and what they were doing. They had a pitch deck, and I got really excited. I felt like this was a strong team, and man, they have done nothing but just kick trash. Even though their token got rocked, it didn't get rocked near as bad as the majority of tokens out there. And one of the reasons I think that happened is they would put out a weekly video called Copy Cafe. And in Copy Cafe, they talk about what they were building, where they were at, what they're working on. And the thing that I love the most is they would address times when things weren't met, deadlines weren't met. They would say, hey, we know that we had said that this was going to happen by this date. It hasn't happened. Here's some of the roadblocks or speed bumps that we've encountered that we were not expecting. And it's going to take longer now, and give kind of like a broader timeline. Again, they weren't like on January 5th, it's going to be done, but they would be like, this is going to take a few weeks, but we'll keep you up to date on that progress. And so it would go, and look, sometimes the community was not happy, right? Like in the comments, it'd be like, oh my gosh, like this is still delayed, but at least they know, at least there's that communication that has to change. That creates so much unwarranted FUD because people are just left to their own devices and their own imagination, right? And then people are coming up with, excuses or justification. Like, it's so much better to just say, hey, look, we with the dev team, like there's been some bumps there, or we're worried we need to make sure that these non-disclosure agreements are in place before we, whatever it is, you need to communicate with the community. Like that's so big. So I really, VeVe, if you're listening, please work on that communication. And tied to communication is customer service. So I have to shout out my guy, Dog Boy. Dog Boy, he's a collector at heart. Like he's been working on getting MCP points and collecting sets. And the beginning of last year, as MCP points were rolling out, there was a lot of people whose points were wrong. Mine were wrong. And they, the team, I felt like overall did a pretty good job actually of communicating and saying, hey, we're working on this. And I would say the large majority of people's MCP issues have been fixed. However, his wasn't, and he submitted like 3 tickets, right, to support, and nothing's been done. And so, and Biscuits went out of her way to try to bring that to the team's attention. And what was really cool is Dogboy made a tweet and talked about it, and David Yu responded. And I responded to David Yu's response, and I was like, thank you so much for taking the time out for an individual in the community and responding to that and saying that you're going to look at this. That was so big. And so I reached out to him today and I was like, hey, have you heard anything so far? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I haven't heard anything. That just can't happen. That has to change. That has to change. If VeVe wants 1 million users, like part of this as a marketplace, and like customer service is massive in this when people have issues. That has to be changed. That has to be improved. So again, team, if you are looking at that, please work on Dogboy's stuff. He has not been out there tweeting or attacking the team or anything. He's been so professional, and his patience is incredible. So that is something that I am really hoping that in 2024 VeVe takes very serious, is that communication and customer service. So let's go through the chats here. Let's see. Look, I would love that. Burning collectibles instead of wasting moments. They could. So one of the things. So Omicron reached out to me on some of these with like the crafting mechanisms. What happens is if all of them are, it's like a randomized crafting. But what happens then, because it's randomized, if not all of the crafts take place, you get a lot of like low mints that might not ever enter into circulation. And so that would be interesting. So with some of those low mints, yeah, if they wanted to transfer, like not necessarily to my channel, whatever, but like doing ways like giveaways like that for content creators would be awesome. Now I know that there was concern about that with only certain people getting the ability to transfer stuff. So maybe it would just be like, hey, VeVe, they will just hold it. They'll never transfer it to me, but they can just transfer it to individuals. And they are doing giveaways. They are doing things like that. But it is a shame that some of those low mints are just like never going to see it. But then someone gets stuck with the high mint that crafted. So hopefully they can work out a way where it's still randomized to a certain extent. To where like, and one of the ideas that Omicron put out was like, okay, so people select and they say, hey, I want to craft, and they lock it in, right? And there's this time frame that they have to lock it in. And then after that deadline of crafting, right, no one can lock in and craft anymore. And then they know the exact amount of people or crafts that are going to take place, and they take the lowest mints up to that amount, and then they do a randomization from there, right? So that those low mints aren't ever just wasted. So that was a great idea there. Hey, look, I mean, I would pay. I used to, when I was on Crypto Rain's channel a lot and we talked about VeVe, like I would do a giveaway. Like when transfers were there, like I would, like I'm not asking for VeVe to do that. And I'm hoping once, that's one of the things that they talked about. And I'll say this is very important with transfers. KYC is a big deal, and it'll be a massive deal in China as well. And I know that the crypto purists, they don't like that. They don't like that centralization. But hey, VeVe is a walled garden. It's centralized anyways. But I think that they're working on like the master collectors or certain tiers that will be able to transfer because they have much more support behind knowing who this individual is and that money laundering isn't going on. So once that happens, I can guarantee you guys that once transfers are enabled again, I'm a master collector and I will definitely be doing some giveaways on my channel. But hey, if you wanted to also support that and do some giveaways, I wouldn't mind that. Hey, Luca, appreciate Luca. Man, he's one of the people that have just really supported me, and I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I wish I could have been there with Ron. That would have been a good conversation to have. Yeah, okay, we're almost there. We're almost to the Omi conversation. Let's see if there's any comments there. I actually love when people that joke will continue to happen, and I chuckle every time. So let's see. Only have a rebrand, relaunch like VeVe. I don't think it's going to have a rebrand. I don't think they're going to rename the token or anything like that. People do enjoy watching giveaways there. So I will say this, Justin, and that's a good convo. One of the things that David, you talked about is that there's going to be a pretty big refresh to the app, like with the web app, and I think that to the phone app as well. And I agree that that's something that we need to see. Bobby, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This is the stuff, man, that keeps me motivated to put in the time to have these conversations. Bitcoin is an example, 10 years of FUD, hate jokes from senators, regulators, people. And now there's a spot Bitcoin ETF, right? I remember when I heard about Bitcoin for the first time, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's just like magically make up money. Yeah, that's a great idea, right? And I didn't take the time to do the research, right? And boy, oh boy, did I screw myself on that one. And not everything's going to be a Bitcoin by any means, right? But when I look at the projects in Web3 that have a token, and I look at their long-term viability, VeVe is definitely on that list of companies that I think will be here for a very, very long time. So I will be buying some Omi today. I have not done so, but I will be buying Omi today. There you go. The analogy of Bitcoin and Omi, definitely not in the same category. I will agree with that. That's funny. Hey, cheering for Randy. Yeah, that is really sad, right? Like, and there's just people out there that hurt people. I don't know what else to say or how else to describe it. But it was funny as I read that Randy comment, the viewers were at 69. So hashtag nice for Randy. Shout out there. There's 20K tokens and most are still down 90%. All right, let's see. Is anyone going to talk about what they think for Omi or VeVe? What's going to happen? Movies. That would be excellent. That would be wild. Now, I do have some movies. I have like the Lord of the Rings. I bought that NFT. It's not doing well price-wise, but I don't care. Like, again, I look at some things and I think very like long-term on stuff. A lot of our collectibles here on VeVe, long-term. Shout out to Jimbo Lilingo. He's been a big supporter of mine. Always comes on. Appreciate you very much. Okay, so I'm going to kind of jump through some of these comments. I don't mind him doing interviews, but if they're going to say things, right, that they should then do a follow-up addressing of, hey, like, as a FYI, I made this comment, on this interview, and here's where it sits. It's that communication, and it has been horrible. Look, I'm a big VeVe fan, right? But I also want to shoot straight with people. And I would say that this has been a significant weakness. And it's really caused a lot of FUD that didn't need to happen. They just communicated. Now, there are going to be some things that are like, they can't disclose. but they can also acknowledge and say, hey, as an FYI, due to like some NDAs, like we can't talk about what's happened, but we want to let you know that we're communicating with you to say like, hey, we're still working on this, right? Those are the types of things that go so far. Comey tweets about the ETF. I'm seeing a lot of projects that haven't tweeted, like their token hasn't tweeted about the Bitcoin ETF, just to give that perspective. Yeah, I mean, so Foster's been out there and he's been commenting on a lot of people's tweets, some of the OMI frustration that's been there. And I will say this, I don't think they'll drop a David Yu collectible. Win Gold Dragon giveaway on your channel. Well, like I can't do giveaways yet, but hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens when transfers. Maybe once a month or once a quarter, I might do like a pretty big giveaway. We'll see what happens there, especially as like a lot of my crypto is going up, and it will continue. I think my projections are that it will continue to go up. I'll definitely maybe have some fun funds to do there, and I've already done an OMI token giveaway and plan to do some more stuff on the channel. So for those who support me, Staker customer service. Oh, I haven't had to deal with their customer service yet, but that's interesting to see. Or Stacker. Shout out to Dr. Profit and all the people working on that. I love Stacker. That has been great. A pep in his step. I do think some great things are coming. Let's see. Anyone in Eon Rift, they've started staking their collectibles for points. Fascinating. No, I don't know more about that. Bill, you'll have to hit me up in the DMs. All right, guys, let's get to it, right? Well, shoot, one more thing with bankruptcy. So I saw some questions. Javier, he was talking about Biscuits. Let me back up there. So Biscuits had made it asked a question about. Let me find this here real quick. It was about bankruptcy and like our okay. So she said, was having a conversation about decentralization interoperability. And I remember at one time in an interview, David Yu says if VeVe goes bust, they release collectibles to users. Does anyone know where that clip is and how that would be possible since IP is strict? Since IP being strict is one of the reasons you cannot store your assets in your own possession. So, I'm hoping that she saw that from my interview with David Yu. So Queen VeVe had asked that question on her Queen's Court, and David did answer, and but his only answer was about the independent artists, that he's like, yeah, well, you'll be able to transfer those to your like non-custodial wallet, like you'll be able to get those and hold them. And I was like, wait a second, but like, what about all the major IP? And so I asked the question there and said, when he was on, when I interviewed him, and I just said, hey, and you can, so check this out. So on my interview, mine Rain's interview with David Yu, if you go to minute 54:08 and then minute 56, like that's where I asked the questions and his responses, because I asked one question and then there was a follow-up question there. I asked him first about like IPFS, right? How are your images stored? Because that's one of the concerns. I'm like, those images for our collectibles are stored on servers. And if you have, like, if they're on IPFS, then basically like it's decentralized, and we'll be okay if VeVe goes down, even if their servers go down or they stop supporting those servers. Through IPFS, you'll be able to still access those images. So, because that would be an issue if it's like, okay, well, this is great. I can then transfer my artist collectibles to my non-custodial wallet. But when I click on it, it just tells me like the metadata, and there's no picture. We obviously want the images with that. So he said, no, they don't. And this is part of like the the trademark issues or copyright that they have it on secure servers. And he said that they have plans in place through contracts. And with the artists, it's obviously much easier. But the IP owner is going to have a right. So Disney or Marvel, the IP owner is going to have the right to set up an external server and host that. And they'll have that option to ensure that the collectible lives on before it goes out to everyone. So obviously it would be a lot harder for an independent artist to spin up their own server to host that. And that's where we'll just get those collectibles. But I should have had a follow-up question. I didn't think about that now. If they're not on IPFS and the independent artists can't host those servers, how do we ensure that those images stay with those collectibles? I'm gonna have to figure that out. I haven't asked that. Okay, so here was a follow-up though to her question. Or let's see. So Javier had then said, let's see. I'm trying to look for this, but it was about the bankruptcy there. And man, where is this at? Okay, so Javier had responded, and he's like, if a company goes bankrupt, they don't get to decide what happens to the assets, as far as I understand. For example, FTX, all assets of value they held were frozen, including those owned by users, i.e., it would be up to the courts to decide. It would be the courts who decide what happens to our assets, not David Yu. So I want to educate you guys a little bit on this topic there. So first of all, Recur, right? They went out of business. They went bankrupt. And yet we were all allowed to transfer our assets out there. So it's going to depend on the bankruptcy and like what's happening with the company first and foremost, right? But Recur, they went bankrupt, they went belly up, and everyone got their assets who transferred there. So that was a little bit misinformed first comment there. But then Javier compared it to FTX. And here's the problem with that. And even with just like financial institutions in general, people with deposits, right? So FTX was an exchange. People had deposits there. Now, if FTX had not committed fraud, all of those depositors would have been fine pending the verbiage in the deposit contract. And that's very important there. But theoretically, what's supposed to happen, right, is that those funds are sitting there on the exchange, and the exchange is making money when people are doing trades on there. It is not a fractional reserve system like financial institutions. So there should have been a one-to-one deposit there. The problem was that Sam Bankman-Fried stole those deposits and sent them to Alameda Research to prop up that sister company, right? And so then what happens is FTX goes under, and they have a lot of creditors, right? And those depositors also become creditors. So in a bankruptcy court where you cannot self-unwind, then there is kind of like a distribution of assets. So everything can be frozen, and the bankruptcy court then looks and says, okay, who are the creditors? Who has the highest claim first? Those people get paid out first. And there's kind of like a waterfall effect on that, right? So there is that. Now, like the ability to transfer our assets. First and foremost, I think that in the highly unlikely event that VeVe were to go under, it's going to be more like a Recur thing where they're just saying, hey, like, we're not selling out the drops, like the funds aren't there, our expenses are too high, and they would just unwind. They would just unwind like that, right? But on top of that, like VeVe would have to have so much debt that if they filed bankruptcy, right, that then all of these creditors would have to be paid out. But I would view it as more, well, two things. And again, it's going to depend on our terms of service, right? And I haven't combed through that for like thinking about this specific issue. But for example, banks, they have safe deposit boxes, right? Those are assets in there. But when a bank fails, those safe deposit assets don't get sold to the credit, to pay off creditors. Those are individuals' assets, and they can get it. So they can either get transferred over to a new bank, right? So a lot of times a bank fails, and there might be an acquiring institution In that case, right, the acquiring institution will just have that and they can go access it that way. Or so like in the United States, if the bank fails and there is an acquiring institution, the FDIC takes over as receiver in a receivership, and they contact those individuals and they give out those safe deposit boxes and they get everything there. So a lot of misinformed people and that are making statements as if they are not necessarily as if they're fact. He had a qualifying statement that, like, as far as I understand, right? But I didn't want people to panic. I just want to educate people on that thing. I do believe that I am not concerned. I do believe that in that case, we're going to get our collectibles. But it is funny. A lot of times the people that are commenting on this, whenever you're reading comments, it is important to understand like what people's angle is or where they're coming from, right? So there's a lot of the fudsters that are there, and they're gonna say whatever they want to say, anything they can do to hurt the project or drag down people. And those are not the opinions that I care to listen to. I care about the people who are informed and they're trying to be educational and be more objective about any topic there. So yeah, come on, Satoshi, what's going on? I can't believe that. It's a CIA psyop. Well, man, thank you, CIA. If that's the case, man, Bitcoin has been phenomenal. Yeah, communication, Rob, needs to improve. They're not listed as a speaker, Philip, because my understanding is because they don't speak French. And I think, like, I don't know if they just didn't realize that there wouldn't be a translator or that everyone was going to be speaking in French. So, Mr. 41, hey, I loved your jokes. I don't know if you heard when I talked about the community space. I love the jokes. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think she did. And I think people have the right to ask questions, right? Because maybe at some point she wants to get back in, but she's concerned about that. Like, I don't know. People can ask questions, guys. People can, but yeah, like at the end of the day, that is interesting. And I had look, there was an individual that I had a lot of discussions with on Twitter Spaces and things, and they since left VeVe. Like, they were actually a pretty big part of the community. They had since left VeVe, and basically called talked about anyone. They talked very negatively about anyone who was still in VeVe, how uneducated we were and things. And look, that's their opinion, and that's fine. But I was so perplexed as to why someone who had completely disowned the community, and this is what I think is so. I'm going to back up. So one of the things that actually makes me very bullish on VeVe, and this is my statement, and I'll say it again, right, is that you can leave VeVe, but you can't seem to leave it alone. All of these people who are here dancing that Omi is going down, and they're celebrating that people have failed and how dumb they are, and ha ha ha, like we were right and you were wrong. Like, why do they care? Like, why are they still here? It's because the power of the community, they can't. I truly think that it's some sort of psychological effect where they have to try to make sure that it fails to justify them leaving. They don't want to be wrong about it. Like, and this is only my assumption, because I asked this individual, I'm like, why do you care? Why do you continue to comment on anything David Yu has said? Like, aren't we all stupid for even being here? Like, I have left communities. I've been projects and stuff like that like I've been like, I held the token, I held the NFT, and then I was like, you know what? Don't believe in it. Don't believe in it anymore. I'm out. And you know what I don't do? I don't sit there and tweet out at the community and be like, oh, the NFT is down now. You guys are so dumb for doing this, right? Like I'm out. And so like I don't understand the psychology there of like why they continue to comment on the space if they're totally done, unless they're not done. But they have to just justify why they've left and hope that it doesn't succeed, because then they're going to miss out and they're going to be upset about that. Bitcoin is up because of its technology, only doesn't have duds for technology. They have Foster. I appreciate that Foster's there. Hey, shout out Jordan. Appreciate you. I teased Jordan on that last around the Ecomiverse space. It seemed kind of like pretty Omi fuddish, and I said maybe that one should be called Against the Ecomiverse. That specific episode there, it was very interesting to hear that. But all right, let's go through some of these. Look, Riz getting a shout out there. Bitcoin started as a currency and still used for that. So yes, it's on the spot transaction, especially in unbanked countries. Again, like it's tough when the community's getting attacked and they're called dumb to not then respond in kind. But I would urge the VeVe community as much as we can. And again, I'm not perfect at it either, right? Sometimes someone hits a nerve and you can have a knee-jerk reaction. But this is what's very interesting about the NFT debate, right? We're not on the blockchain. We're on a proof. It's a proof. It's a roll up, right? I mean, it's a proof there on IMX that proves that this transaction has happened, and it can be brought down to layer 1, and we have the right to mint that token from that proof. But here's where I find it kind of comical, is we are still so early in this space. We don't know what is going to truly matter and where the value is going to be. It may be, and I want everyone to be aware of this, it may be so that people 10 years down the road say, I only believe that things that were actually minted on L1 with the token, those are the things that are the first. Those are the FAs. That is a possibility. I hope that people are aware that that is a risk. Okay. But then it's also the possibility that people don't care whether or not it's minted on L1 and there's a token, and they just care about that the metadata shows that date and that they can bring it to layer 1. And we'll see on VeVe's walled garden if that happens or not. And again, we don't know. We don't know where people are going to ascribe value there. And so to sit there and claim, and we see that right now. There are people paying tens of thousands of dollars for these collectibles on VeVe, right? Because they believe that's what they care about. And then we see people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, on some Bored Ape Yacht Club and stuff like that. Because I'm trying to think, they'll spend it, or they believe that being on the blockchain is the only thing for them. So they won't buy anything on VeVe. But the debate is not settled by a long shot there. So we can sit there and argue and say, hey, for me, in my opinion, I believe that this will hold value long term, and that because it's still on the blockchain, it still has a proof of ownership there. Not on blockchain, I use that term a lot, but there's still a digital proof of ownership, and that's what I care about, right? So very interesting around the Ecomi FUD. Yeah, man. Well, if you hold it and change it there, I'm out. No, I don't mind calling out things that I think are a concern. I think that I've done that so far there. The communication has been horrendous, honestly. I talk about this a lot. The easiest way to get emotional about OMI price action is to diversify. Well, okay. For me, and maybe this is what you meant, but so early on when I got into crypto, I was in about I had three or four different tokens, and it was still during the bull run. And so there were tokens popping off and mine weren't, right? And I talked to Rain, and he was in all of these different projects. And I was like, yo, what the heck? I was getting emotional about it. And my logical side was being kicked to the side, kicked to the curb, right? And I was just like, I need to sell what I'm in to get into something that's pumping. I just want to experience these gains. And I did that a couple times, to be honest, right? And it did not work out for me. And that's when I look back and said, I think that I need to take some time and do research and look at the projects that I truly believe in, and what they're doing, and research the team, and then buy those tokens and just hold. But the more I diversify, then the more exposed I am to different narratives potentially. And that has helped, that has made all the difference. And I think that Jordan can speak to this, right? He was all in OMI, and Crypto Rain and I were like, Jordan, I think it would be smart to diversify. Now, here's the difference, right? Again, I'm going to address Randy because we've talked to Randy too. We talked to Randy about diversifying, and he is all in on OMI. So he's either going to get massively wrecked or he's going to be richer than all of us. And that's the thing. And he has enough belief in the token that he is willing to take that risk. And to me, that is a massive risk. And yeah, but to call him stupid, the story's not written yet. I don't know. So now we're going to get into the OMI FUD. I'm going to talk a lot more about this. Yeah, look, this is another thing, right? Not all tokens are up. Bored Ape Yacht Club they have gained some of the largest funds in the entire NFT space. They have made so much money. Why is their token down? Where are all the promises that they've made, right? I'm telling you, and that's what I think is funny is some of these fudders, right? With their Mutant Ape PFPs making fun of OMI. And I'm like, okay, I've checked your wallet. And guess what? I saw the price point that you bought that at, and you are down. You're down on your investment. But go ahead and be on your high horse and tell us how we're all stupid and you're smart. Okay, obviously, you're not up on some of your investments either. But okay. Now, look, I think that long-term Bored Ape Yacht Club, when I'm looking long-term, I think they're going to be okay. And I could be wrong about that, but the ape token is not doing well. It's gone up a bit, right? It's still, I just checked this morning. It's down 95% from its all-time high. OMI's down 99%. And ape has pumped a little bit. It's like a 10% increase, right? At some point during the day, I don't know what OMI's doing now, but it was up 2%. And I was joking with VeVe Viral. I was like, my bags are pumping. Let's go. So I'm gonna show you guys, and this is where I think that we need to take a step back. So all of these people and all of the FUD on OMI, nothing with OMI's changed from yesterday to today, except for the other tokens have pumped and OMI hasn't, right? But nothing else. But the FUD is so strong, and part of it is because you do have these people who have left and have said, I've told you, this is a rug, this is a slow rug, and this proves my point. And that's where I say, okay, well, this just shows your lack of experience in the space. If you think that OMI is done because it hasn't pumped right after while other tokens are pumping, I just have to call that out as a lack of experience and knowledge about the space. That, it's not done. And the fact that you're saying that, you're really destroying your credibility, honestly. Now, does that, I want two things. I think that a lot of the people who are frustrated, we're still seeing some very strong members in the community who are frustrated, right? And they're like, look, one of the reasons they think that the token isn't pumping is because the lack of fulfillment of some of the promises, the exchanges, the utility that's not there. And that frustration is valid. I agree with that. It is frustrating. I don't want to take anything away from that and those people that are feeling that way. But let me tell you about a token, and anyone who listened when I made that video on the catalyst for Bitcoin, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, right? I had talked about animal concerts, right? So I'm going to show you animal concerts. And this is just to give you perspective. There are a lot of other tokens that this has happened to, by the way. But let me share my screen here so that you guys get an idea of what's happening here. Okay, so let's get this up. So this is animal concerts, guys. Okay, so animal concerts launched 009, right? Went all the way to 3 cents. It was a sweet pump. Now, full disclosure, I did pre-seed investment in animal concerts, right? And I was stoked on this price. Um, and what did it do? So animal concerts, for those who don't know, their concept is to hold concerts in the metaverse, and they have connections to like Snoop Dogg, Alicia Keys, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Robin Thicke, and some other musicians, like pretty big and well known musicians in the space, right? And they have done a partnership. They've announced partnerships with the Decentraland and Sandbox, and so I was bullish, right? Like Meta, like the whole metaverse narrative, like was really strong at this point still, right? Because Meta announced that they were getting into the metaverse in like September or October of 21. So they launch here in April, and the token shoots up. But it was at the tail end of the bull run. Actually, the bull run had pretty much ended. So this token goes down, so it launches 3 cents in April, on April 5th, and then bam, by like about a month later, it's down significantly, and then by June, boom, just bottoms out, right? So it's sitting here, and it's sitting here in the triple zeros. Most of the time, it's in the triple zeros, right? It's all the way down to this 0001, 0002 range, right? So here is where I start buying. So I start buying this token, and I'm like, look. Now, one of the things that I'm doing, right, is I'm checking the socials, and I'm saying, are they still active? Does the team still have financial runway to hold out through this bear market, right? And they are. I reached out, so we had the CEO on Crypto Rain's YouTube channel, and I was a co-host there. We interviewed the CEO, and then that CEO left, and there was a new CEO, and there was a ton of FUD around the project, guys. Like now you still see some of the volume. The volume is still decently high there, right? I mean, on a daily basis, 371, 500,000 being traded there. That also to me was exciting. I was like, okay, like people are still buying this, but look at this drop and drop and drop. And what's happened? So look down to 161, 140, 94. So I make my video, right? And I start talking about this. I first started talking about this in like mid-December. Now, again, I've been buying at these lows here, DCing from what I got. So my pre-seed investment, like I was down on my investment, right? Like the token price was a lot lower than what I had paid for it in the pre-seed, and that's part of the risk there. But I still believed in the project. So this is where I want to get to. And I'm going to tie in that point about these people who are celebrating that OMI is dead because it's not pumped. A day after the Bitcoin ETF announcement, and how they're validating, and they're all right about this. So here's what happens. We're going to do a 90 day. We'll go to the 90 day. So maybe 30 days. 30 days better. Okay, right. So here you're going. The 90 day, because there was a little bit of a pump here. So this started to kind of build, and guess what? There have been no announcements, guys, from Animal Concerts, really, like nothing to spur this pump. No utility to the token, no announcements. But you know what's happened is that there's speculation on the AR VR narrative with the Apple Vision Pro. They knew that there was going to be an announcement here coming at the beginning of the year. And so they made this announcement. Now I talked about this around, let's see, I think it was Thursday the 28th is when I talked about it. So the token price was 0003. The people listened to that, and then I was like, look, this is a high risk, high reward play, but this is in the AR VR narrative, and Apple Vision Pro goggles are going to be coming out, and then bam. Now here's what I also did, guys. I took profits as this was pumping up. So I took profits at like 001, 002, and 001, 001, 0012, and 0014. I got all of my initials out, even for my pre-seed, and additional profits. And I'm still sitting with a nice bag of Animal Concerts here. But the reason that I bring up this example is narratives matter in crypto. Okay. Today, so let's do 7 day. It's gone down. Like what's going up? There's a little bit of a pump, and then it, like after the spot Bitcoin ETF, there was this pump, and then it's back down, right? I'm just trying to show you guys that we can be frustrated, and it's okay to be frustrated that the token's not pumping, but that doesn't mean that it's dead or that it won't pump. OMI has a lot of different narratives that it can be in the crypto space. And if that happens, it can go ballistic. Now, people are talking about exchanges. I do think that if we'd had additional exchanges, OMI probably would have experienced an okay pump, maybe 10%, 12%. That's what a lot of tokens have done. Now, the real microcap tokens, some of those have done 20 to 30% increases, right? But for the most part, so I can get that frustration, but I want you to understand that this is far from over. So the bull runs are not done in 2 weeks, historically speaking. If you track the Bitcoin price, right, if we're just going to use Bitcoin as kind of the marker, Bitcoin hits its all-time high about 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving. So the Bitcoin halving is in April. So even if we say 12 months from April, there's a lot that Ecomi could accomplish within that time and still be in the bull run. So for me, and my bet is that during these prices, now I'm diversified and I'm having some projects that have pumped, and I'm taking some of those profits and I'm rolling it under other small micro caps, and those have pumped, and I've been able to start to get more and more leverage there that I've been deploying. But I am buying more OMI at these prices, and so I want to address. So let's see. Let's go to some of the comments here. Let's see what you guys have to say here. Some people claiming they have more OMI than Jordan. So here, I'm gonna point something else out to you. And I've done this, and I know a lot of people that do this. And I've seen a lot of crypto traders that early on are pretty successful, right? Like what I've done is I've taken tokens and I've rolled them. I've taken profits and I've rolled them into others and then others and then others, right? But I am now, what I do is I constantly leave a bag there. And my intent sometimes is like, hey, I'm going to come back and I'm going to buy more of this token once like this little pump that it's had drops back down. So like animal concerts, right? I'll probably be buying some more animal concerts at these prices because the actual ARVR narrative actually hasn't hit yet. But there's just this kind of supposition that it was going to hit and speculation there. But what I've seen happen is these crypto traders, they will they'll sell and then they'll be like, I'm going to get back into this token. They're like, I think this token can do well. I'm going to take the profits here and I'm going to get into this one. And I'll eventually get back to this one. But what happens is, so that token will go up 2 to 3x. Then they'll sell completely out of it, right? And I'll take this back. And they're like, I'm going to come back when that goes down. But then what happens is it doesn't, like they don't put funds back in. And then that token, maybe it went down from that 2 to 3x, right? And it's down there and it's kind of hanging out. And then it does a 20x. Now I will see typically the majority of these crypto traders, they miss all of those massive, massive gains. And then they're stuck trying to catch back up to the people who are like, I'm just holding or I'm DCing at these prices and I'm waiting. Now, I always say I like to take my profits out because that takes a lot of the emotion, because if I'm wrong and this doesn't go crazy, I've already made profit. That's what I did with animal concerts. I'm completely in the black on this. And I'll probably buy more at least because I'm completely in the black in others, right? And I'm taking some of those profits. But that's just something to think about, is that strategy of trading. And Crypto Rain talks about it all the time on his channel, where he just, and the reason I bring up Crypto Rain a lot, because he's actually made millions in crypto. He's done it, right? His theory has worked. And all I'll say is, like, I remember back in the day, there was a lot of Telegram channels of people who had been great at making calls. And it is easier to make calls during a pre-bull and bull run. Like, I've made a lot of great calls here, right? Because I'm looking at, okay, what are some of the narratives? What is the token price looking like? And I buy into that. But then what happens again is, like I've said, they sell out of these tokens, and their trading works up to a certain point while the bull run is still happening and all these tokens are going up. But then it really starts to fail at the tail end of the bull run. And I've seen so many of these groups just get wrecked, honestly, wrecked, where all of these people that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars lost it all because they continue to use the same strategy, where they're like, yep, I'm gonna roll my funds into this one, but that token went down, but it'll go back up, but then it doesn't go back up. And they're like, oh crap, well, let me roll that into this other one. And then that one goes down and then goes down and then goes down. So I like the strategy that Crypto Rain has implemented and has been proven. And that's why I reference him a lot, right? And I talk to him a lot, is because I'm like, this is person. There's a lot of people who've been in crypto for longer than Rain has, right? And longer than me, who are not crypto millionaires. And they continue to talk about how they know crypto. And I'm like, well, I feel like the proof would be in the pudding there. So that's my take on it. That doesn't mean that these people aren't intelligent and that they can't make some great calls and you can learn from them. You absolutely can. You can make some great gains from them. And actually that can be, those type of traders can be very helpful in the pre to early bull runs, because they're doing a lot of work and analyzing some of these things and can make those great calls and rolling that, right? And again, it's just making sure that you de-risk yourself from that. But greed takes hold, and it can be very hard to be disciplined. And for me, I am more about like, okay, I'm going to take those gains out, but then I'm going to have these moon bags that if the token pumps to 50x, it's probably not going to do a God candle where it just goes immediately to 50x. It's going to go there maybe over a couple weeks or a month. And I'm going to be DCing out of that position. So I won't experience necessarily 50x, but I'll definitely get a lot more than the 2 or 3x that I'm then trying to roll into something else there. So some of my thoughts there. You can never have enough. There's this banter. So funny. Bill Gardner is trying to tell Jordan he needs to diversify more of his bag back into OMI. That's great. And I love these comments. So I'd love to hear, got some animal concerts. Like another good call that I made, like I was looking at Drive. You guys have probably never heard about Drive. Crypto Rain had talked about him a while ago, but I was looking at that and I was like, oh, it's been trading in this range here. And yet like I feel like this is going to do a pump. And so I bought it at like 0012, and it pumped all the way to 0025, 28, 29, something around there, right? And I took profits, and I still have a bag of Drive. Like, so I just am trying to give you guys a little bit of perspective on things. You're going to listen to these people who have a lot of followers, right? And they're going to sit there and say how OMI is dead and that VeVe, it's dead because the team has not done anything and there's no utility. And I hope that example of Animal Concerts, who literally still has done nothing, and that token pumped pretty substantially, like an 8x, right? From early like September to December, an 8x doing nothing, guys. It still has no utility. So a lot of the crypto is narrative and speculation. And OMI still has a lot of chance to do that, right? Now, will exchanges help? Yes. Do I want exchanges? Yes. And that is one of my predictions for this year, is that OMI is going to get on additional exchanges. I don't think that they hired Foster and opened up this Ecomi Discord for them to sit and do nothing with the token. So it'll be very interesting to see there. Yeah, check Pink Panther, see if you have some of that. All right, some other questions. Do I think that the old Bitcoin cycle will still be relevant? ETF approval might have broken that cycle. That is a great question. And I did say, and I did promise that I talk about Bitcoin in this spot, Bitcoin ETF, right? In fact, I was actually on a space the day of, and I was like, that hack was a little bit weird there. And I'm like, they might be using that as a reason to push it back, but I'm like, it's more than likely going to get approved today, which was yesterday. And yeah, so we saw that. But to a certain extent, yes, I do think that the cycle will change somewhat, but I only say somewhat. There is definitely going to be overall less volatility, I would say, with Bitcoin specifically. But there are some risks that people aren't aware of with what can happen with an ETF. There's a thing that's called a naked short, and it actually happened with GameStop. It's illegal. It's not supposed to happen. And for those of you who don't know what like a naked short is basically you are making a deal with someone. So what's supposed to happen when you're shorting a stock, right? You're supposed to have that stock and sell it to someone and say, or you're quote unquote borrowing it from someone and you're saying like, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to pay you back with this stock. And your intent is to purchase that stock at a lower price and then give it back to them. Right. And so you can make gains that way. But with like a naked short, you don't actually have the stock. And so people can pretend that they have all these stocks and they can really devastate the price of a stock by doing that. And that's what they did to GameStop. And if you follow that Wall Street Bets, like that whole thing that happened is people started calling out. They were like, these people are naked shorting this. These institutions are naked shorting the GameStop. And so we're going to buy this stock. And if we don't sell, as the price goes up, these institutions are having to buy the stock back, right? Because they didn't actually own it. And so it was actually like some financial institutions or some hedge funds actually went out of business because of that ploy. So there's still going to be some market manipulation that can happen with this ETF that actually couldn't really happen in this way beforehand. So we'll see there. I guess where I'm going with that is there could still be volatility with this, but is it going to change the cycle? I think so, because what I believe will happen, Bitcoin is a new asset class, and there's going to be people that want exposure to it. And there are some people who asked a great question. They were saying, like, why do we need a spot Bitcoin ETF? Why don't people just go out and buy it? Well, two things. Hedge funds are not going to do that. They have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. And so going out and speculating on a token that hasn't really gone through like the regulatory approval, they are exposing themselves to a lot of legal risk there, which they're not willing to do. However, now that the SEC has approved it as a stock, they can do that. And they can be like, look, it's gone through all of the regulatory checks. This is a new asset class for them, and they can buy it that way. But then even individuals, most people are not going to go to Coinbase and set up an account just to buy Bitcoin. They're just not going to do it. But could they be like, hey, I'd like some exposure to that in my 401k? Absolutely. So that's where the spot Bitcoin ETF is really beneficial to the space overall. There's going to be a lot more inflows from people who otherwise would not do it. And as we can see, like we're already starting to see an influx of money coming in. And I just think that over time, that's going to happen. So again, Harris, to answer your question, I do think it's going to change, but I also think that there's still going to be cycles, just like real estate. I mean, it's a new asset class, and there's going to be times where there's a risk-on appetite and a risk-off appetite. So it will change, and there probably won't be as much volatility. So I do think that we're at a pretty exciting time where people who are buying Bitcoin and some of these altcoins at these lower prices, the chances for making life-changing money are pretty significant. But the next cycle, I think that the multiples are going to be a lot lower. And that does come with regulation in the space and compliance and things, that there's a lot of costs involved there, and a little bit less speculation, to where I don't think that those pumps are going to be as big. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, got to shout out Messi, man. You guys phenomenal. Tax-free. Well, that is, I'm very jealous. If you can hold your bags for 1 year and it's completely tax-free, so switching bags from one project. Yeah, and it's going to depend on every jurisdiction, right, where you're at. I agree. So Crypto Rain does this with Paul from Definity. Paul is an incredible technical analysis individual, does phenomenal technical analysis there and talks about that. And then you combine that with Rain's fundamental analysis of like his in-depth knowledge of the project and the team and what's happening. Really, really helpful. And I'll say he has made some spectacular calls, right? And he has a Telegram channel that, like there is you have to be a Patreon member to get into that. But not only does he talk about trades that he's doing and what he's moving in, but then he also holds private interviews with some of the CEOs so he'll do a public interview and then he'll pull in the CEO and do a private interview just for his holders there. But as you can tell, I'm a big fan of Crypto Rain, and I'm very grateful for the knowledge that he brings to the space. And I'm stoked that he's been willing to spend some time on around the Comiiverse and spout that knowledge. It's been awesome. Metaphor for the win. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really do hope that I'm adding value. And please, guys, with any questions that you have, I'd love to address them here. We've been going for about an hour and a half. I'm going to be closing it up pretty soon, but I do appreciate all of the support. Let's see. Definitely not tax free, but yeah, with an ETF, you can do a Roth IRA and get profits tax free. So that is another, it becomes another type of investment vehicle with tax benefits as it's become an ETF. This is so good. Man, look, if Jim Cramer was like, Omi's going to zero, I would sell everything and buy more Omi. That's so funny, man. Jim Cramer, oh, what an individual. How does that guy have a job? It's so amazing. Yeah, so am I in Bumper? Yes, I am in Bumper. And Bumper for me is a very, very, very high risk, but extremely high reward token. If they can truly demonstrate its effectiveness as institutional money comes in the space, they will absolutely use Bumper. They will. And they won't necessarily care like what the price is to a certain extent, because the amount of money that they're going to be using, right? Like if they've got like a $50 million Bitcoin position, and they're like, yeah, I want to secure that. I want all the upside without the downside. And I'm going to ensure that through Bumper. The token could go crazy. It could go absolutely crazy, but it could also it could be so risky that institutions don't feel comfortable using it. And so then it never gets off the ground. But I'm willing to take that bet. So I've got that to me, when I'm looking at different sectors and narratives of exposure, that's DeFi to a certain extent. And DeFi hasn't really pumped. A lot of my DeFi tokens haven't pumped right now. But I am into Bumper. And but again, like super high risk, right? It could all go to zero. But those are the ones that I'm willing to take a risk on. And we'll see how it pans out, right? So another thing, just to give you guys some ideas of some of the upcoming narratives, right? That are coming, that I think are important is, let's see. Well, you've got the AR/VR that's still coming up, and I think that will be interesting with Apple Vision Pro goggles releasing in February. So that's where I think Animal Concerts and potentially like Omi could, like it's got AR, VR. I think the metaverse thing could also really help Omi there, and that combination could be strong. But then you have the gaming narrative. So like the big gaming conference is happening in March. So there are some tokens out there now that could definitely pump because of the gaming narrative. I'm really big into cornucopias. That's a little bit higher market cap now. But you have like Shrapnel. Then you have, Myria token, games for a living. So I'm definitely like buying some of those tokens, and I'm looking at the smaller market caps there as well. But also looking at the teams, but there are definitely some big plays there, some of the narratives. And then DeFi tokens. I think that some point during this bull run, DeFi is going to hit, but I think that the closer time frames on the narratives that could pump tokens are the AR/VR and then also the gaming narrative in March. So let's see. Yeah, I would like more exposure to Bumper. But let's see. Tectum Layer 2 for Bitcoin. I don't know this token or this project, so you can hit me up in the DMs. I can look more into it, but that's one that I can't speak to. I am in MMX. So MMX, right, is an exchange. It's a token for an exchange out of United Arab Emirates or like Dubai, right, or some area there, and I'll say this: I've talked to someone who's used the exchange, and they're like, "It's not that. Like, it's not. It wasn't a very good experience." But I don't have exposure to crypto tokens for exchanges, and so I thought it would be a good one to take a risk on or take a chance on. I don't think that Binance was a very good user experience when it first started there. Now, I'm not saying that MMX is going to be the next Binance, but I do believe that there is some strong incentive for them to make that work. And that exchange is tied to a lot of oil money, out there in that region. And so for me, I think that there is an incentive for that to actually to make that work. And so if it ends up working, that token could also do very, very well. But that's a little bit longer term hold for me. I could have sold out. I bought early on, and I could have sold it like a 2x, and I didn't do that. I just held on, and I'm like, my expectation, at least for this token, was that I think it can do more than that, but we'll see. So AI coins, that is another narrative. AI kind of hit last year. I missed out on a token, and that I'm actually looking to buy into still. It's called Chain GPT. So the ticker symbol is CGPT. They've got some token unlocks that are happening. They might have actually happened, or they're about to happen there. So I'm looking to get in, but I think that they're going to be a launch pad for some of these AI projects coming out there. So I'm definitely big and interested into the AI launch pads, or just launch pads in general. That's where, when the bull run hits, the launch pads that get these big projects are good projects, and not all of the launch pads are going to do well. So I want some exposure to a lot of different ones, but those tokens go bananas. They go bonkers. So I'm in a token. I don't have a lot of exposure to AI coins. I do have one, Orbify, that I got into after I saw how well Chain GPT did. I did jump into Orbify, and that's done okay, but nothing like Chain GPT. Abu Dhabi, thank you. Yeah, that's where it is. Appreciate you, Vladimir. So look, any other questions, guys, before I kind of close out the space? Hopefully I've kind of addressed the elephant in the room. I think that it is these celebrations that are happening by the people that probably don't hold Omi, haven't held it for a long time. All they do is trash talk Omi. They seem to pop up when Omi's not doing well, and then they're very, very quiet when Omi does have like a run up. I don't listen to those people. I don't like those people. Haven't been successful in the space, so I'm like, that's great. That's your opinion, and I do wish everyone success, guys. I'm not here to celebrate anyone. I want everyone to be successful. I really do, and let's celebrate people's wins, and let's not celebrate people's losses, guys. We're all individuals, and if we can just come together as a community and really try to be like a more positive force, while also still expressing frustrations for the things that I feel like are justified, and expressing frustrations, the community overall is going to be a lot better for it. So I'll give just like a little second to see if there's any other comments that people have, and if not, then we'll close out this stream. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any other comments, but I just want to appreciate all of you guys who tuned in. And if you haven't already, shoot, I'm so bad at this. I would love it if you would smash, push, crush, or gently caress the like, subscribe, and all notifications buttons. I'd love to grow my channel. I really am trying to help educate people. And the best way to get exposure is when people like the channel, that they subscribe to the channel, and then they make those comments down below. And I, to date, have responded, I believe, to every single comment that happens in those. And that's a way to interact with me. And then if you're not following me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Doctor of Stuff. And anyways, I appreciate all you guys' support and comments, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Take care.